So there's a new documentary out. I didn't realize. I mean, who was like Justin Young, one of the fellow artists who we have on the on our guests every now and then on this Kiwis and comic books that we do on Friday nights here in New Zealand, which is about Thursday nights. Haven't done one for a couple of weeks, and probably won't do one for another couple of weeks because we're going to like Kickstarter for next month. So I thought I'd just when we come back out of that, then we can get back to that. But he mentioned that because I shared a post about the whole Nickelodeon thing. You were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah,
about the documentary about that, and so. He let me know was last night or the night before. He said, "Hey, we have it here on New Zealand Channel 3, on TV3 in New Zealand. The whole series now it's on their streaming on their website, right? tv3.co.nz. So I saw a start of that, man. It was like, whoa! I thought I knew some stuff because they had some stuff where. There was like where this guy, adult male, would be around, and this is a creator, like a lot of their big shows, would have a pool party.
Yeah.
With their very
his name is Dan. Yeah. There's a lot of cringy things going on there. It's almost a hard watch. I mean, it's very
I had
sad.
to stop.
Yeah. There's this one guy that got this one kid that was in there, and he definitely got the worst abuse possible, unspeakable things. So, I would not recommend my kids to be, if I ever had kids, I would not recommend them to be in that industry. That's for sure. Like anybody that came up to me as an artist asking me what I thought about putting kids in a environment like that, I'd be like, no, not even. Just from watching that, especially, I would not advise anyone to be in the movie industry. Period. Let alone kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not yet satisfied.
There you go, dude. A Shifter saying that your work looks good.
Thank you, Shifter. I appreciate that. It's for a creator called Jason Lennox. He does Lord of the Cosmos. I can put the link up in the
do that
for you. And I don't know much about this Kickstarter and creator other than they hired me. But it looks really good. Everything I've gotten from the comic creator is awesome looking. Like the project looks really cool to me. But this is my first job with them, so I'm just learning. But it's got this main chick, Zemba, and there's some type of crazy horse that I'm really interested in maybe doing some artwork for.
Yeah,
like a unicorn alien horse. It's just really cool artwork, futuristic space type stuff. Let me get that link for you.
Hey, what was the name of that Nickelodeon thing?
I'll look that up too. My roommate just showed it to me. Basically, we just started watching it, and I was like, "Whoa, this is."
Dang it! I'm on the site, but I got to search through like hundreds of shows, and I'm.
Make I look upon you with compassion again. Only the blood of this child can make I look upon you as his children again. I offer this humble sacrifice to you from your son.
So recently, Bryce David Howard or somebody, that, oh, damn it. Why isn't the search working? Quiet on the set. Let me see, long home, brands, digital. Okay, let's see if it's on digital. Search. No, it's something else. Yeah.
Well, and it's actually really cringy and it's not good content. I feel even. I'm not even into it. It's gross.
All right, so
people are gross.
So there's like a this is the one, right? So this is law and crime network has put like a 12-minute thing. All right, here we go. So I'll put this up and let's have a look.
90s and 2000s, we enjoyed watching television shows like Drake and Josh, The Amanda Show, All That, iCarly, and so many more like it. All were popular shows on the Children's Television Network, and all were produced by Dan Schneider. But in an explosive new docuseries, former writers, crew members, and other former child actors have come forward with allegations of a toxic workplace culture and harassment against the network's most successful producer. But that wasn't the only bombshell revealed during the docuseries. The biggest revelation arguably came from one of its former stars who spoke out for the first time about his experience of being sexually abused, allegedly by a dialogue coach who previously worked at the network. Investigation Discovery's latest docuseries, Quiet on Set: The Dark Side of Kids TV, gives viewers an inside look into the allegations of toxic workplace culture in many children's TV series produced in the 90s and 2000s by Dan Schneider. Some of those allegations came from a former writer for the hit children's series The Amanda Show, Jenny Cleggan, who was one of 2 female writers employed for the show. She claimed Schneider would show pornography from his computer. Cleggan said he would pressure the 2 female writers to publicly perform seemingly sexually explicit activities in front of coworkers, including asking the other female writer, Christy Stratton, to tell a story as if she's being sodomized. Stratton, who was also interviewed for this series, didn't want to speak on the incident, only saying she's not proud of it. She said working for Schneider was like being in an abusive relationship. Cleggan also discussed the inappropriate meaning behind a popular Amanda Show character's last name, Penelope Taint. She claimed that in the writer's room, Schneider said he wanted to keep the true meaning behind the character's last name a secret and said, "Don't tell what the word really means," in reference to a meaning about male genitalia. In addition to that, the 2 writers for the hit children's series say they both had to split a single salary between the 2 of them. Wow. Jenny Cleggan would later go on to sue the show's production company, alleging gender discrimination, harassment, and hostile work environment. The lawsuit was ultimately settled.
I mean, when somebody's in a position of power, it means they have something they can take or give away. And if you're in that subordinate position, it can be extremely frightening.
Dr. Joni Johnston is a forensic psychologist. As she explained, oftentimes it takes several complaints against a person in power for it to be taken seriously.
We all know people who spoke up and were ostracized or were punished in some way. And it oftentimes takes a certain amount or number of people to keep talking and keep complaining before action is taken. And sometimes the people who are leading the pack are the ones who get stepped on. They're the ones who almost become the sacrificial lamb, if you will, for people who then eventually are able to get some momentum and get some change. And so those concerns are valid concerns. I mean, we need to work to the point where there shouldn't be valid concerns, that everybody knows that there's safety there and there's legitimate people to listen and take those seriously. But that has not been our history. And so it's understandable that those concerns are there.
In addition to those claims, former crew members on several hit Nickelodeon shows allege Schneider pressured female staffers to give him massages. Some also now find it inappropriate Schneider appeared in skits with Amanda Bynes, referring to the skit where the two were in a hot tub. Bynes would appear in a swimsuit while Schneider appeared fully clothed. Some former child actors who appeared in the docuseries said Schneider developed a close relationship with Bynes, appearing to mentor and run lines with her as the two were reportedly often alone together numerous times while on set. Schneider has since defended his relationship with Bynes, who didn't appear in the docuseries. He said he supported Bynes' decision to emancipate from her parents and assisted her when she attempted to run away from home. Former child actors and alums from another Nickelodeon series, All That, shared their experience as being the few Black actors working with Schneider on the show in the early 2000s. Brian Hearn, who starred on All That, believed he was racially stereotyped by appearing in sketches which featured him as a rapper named Little Fetus and a teen who sold cookies but played the sketch seemingly referring to drug dealing. He said he was referred to as a piece of charcoal and was uncomfortable wearing the leotard costume as a growing young teen at the time. Hearn also referred to a scene that stood out to him where he was covered in peanut butter for dogs to lick off as a dare.
So, for those of you who've recently watched the Club Shay Shay, I've forgotten the comedian's name. Right. Sucks, but do watch it, right? So he basically talks about putting Black men in dresses with Hollywood, but specifically Hollywood, and doesn't as a way to and not in the sense that these guys are leaning toward the LGBT and all that and drag or anything like that in their own private life, but this is a way to kind of like humiliate them or keep them in check, right? And he talks about that a lot on that show, on that actual, where's my brush? I think it's gonna have to grab some water, but he talks about that on that interview, right? As a comedian talking about how they, he kind of like contracted these things, and he talks about how he was asked to do that, and he said, "No, I'm not. That's not me. I'm not going to do that." And then he said somebody else did, right, and so on. And if you want to wear a dress, that's all good, right? But we're talking about like these young people, creative people, actors having to give up something of themselves to get a job, right? And you kind of think, well, yeah, of course you want to be in the celebrity thing, you want all that, yeah, you're going to get millions of dollars, but it's kind of like
not even millions of dollars. Sometimes they're just getting a paycheck, basically. I mean, the one kid was talking about how he is just trying to get his family out of the hood. So, and he basically didn't throughout the history of this little Nickelodeon show. So they're just they're going on the hopes that they're able to, and they're getting demasculated and humiliated and going through horrible. They talk about a dare. There was like a dare show where they're getting scorpions put on them, and they were just talking about the one kid got peanut butter put all over him and stuff. And
we're just about to talk about that. Like, so here's the thing, like, I just saw that Shifter put out like this thing. This is about dang it, Amanda Bynes, right? They found her walking around naked and insane, and then after she ran away, right? One of the things that this is why I'm really anti the LGBT with the kids thing. And it's the whole, kids are so impressionable, right? And we always say that, and kids have always been something that we say no, hands off forever, right? and we've always said it, hands off kids, hands off kids. They're impressionable. Their brains aren't made up until about 20, you know, and you can, you know, after 18, you can decide to do whatever if you want. I don't care, right? Because you're considered now an adult, right? So, but like a kid's impressionable minds and all that stuff, and they don't know, you know, 16, 15, 13, you know, we don't know as children what the F we want in our lives. We don't even know who we are, actually. You know, we're still trying to find out where we fit in the world. And you get people like this dude who, you know, through, you know, your skills as an actor or comedian, whatever, as a child, your parents see you've got, you know, your rallies see you've got some sort of skill to make people laugh. You go, oh, let's try for this audition for these shows, and, you know, hopefully we'll get some there. And now, be a good boy, be a good girl, do what they tell you, because mommy and daddy's, you could buy them a house, right? You know, you could get them out of the ghetto. You can get them out of the trailer park, you know. You can get them, you know, away from, like, you know, your rural little country home, whatever, where there's only about a couple hundred people there. And now you could be famous. You can go all over the world. You could be, you know, you could be a star. You could be on TV and all this. Just listen to what they tell you. So one of the things that I remember was, like, they're talking about the pool thing, right? So there was, and this is like about 5-6 years ago, you can see videos online on YouTube about where interviews and stuff about this situation with Nickelodeon, with Dan Snyder. And he talks about, like, the girl, there was a girl saying, like, my mom put me in a 2-piece bikini for this pool party where only young kids were at, and him, a grown-ass man. And mom said, go, you could be on the show. So a lot of parents here, some parents, I shouldn't say a lot, allegedly were pushing their kids into this shit because they themselves saw them as a, you know, what is it called, like a money making, what is that called, man?
I mean, they're basically
Cash
using
cow.
their kids as a what was that?
Cash cow. Cash cow, right? Carry on. Sorry. Yeah, I just, like, it's a cash cow. That's the word I was looking for. But yeah.
Yeah, I just guard against, you know, I guard against anyone getting into where you're letting somebody push you into uncomfortable situations, for sure.
But the problem is, like I was saying, like when you've got your parent telling you, you got other adults who are part of the show telling you, you know, and basically, yeah, like Shifter says, that's basically what these parents did, right? They pimped their kids out. And because they saw them as cash cow, oh, I can't, you know, I can't do something with my own life to make us rich, but my child has the talent and has the look. And so I'm going to, like, pimp her out or pimp him out, right? Not always girls here, as you saw, right? You know, boys are getting it as well, right? So I think this whole idea that it's only girls are getting harassed on Me Too shit,
oh yeah, no, it goes both ways.
Both ways.
If you watch this show, you know, I don't even like really talking about it too much, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just all cringe to me. But I definitely recommend people that are interested in all this to watch that show, because in this show the biggest affected was a male child, and it's horrific. So it's not gender specific, for sure, no. And then it's not necessarily like the parents are always in on it either. It's you know, where you get abuse for money and power is, you know, it's manipulative on all fronts. So
Yeah.
that's where I was talking about earlier, with the situation where I was seeing cringe is, you got to watch out for your kids and just younger people or anyone in the industry getting taken care of or
Yeah.
taken advantage
Advantage
of.
of. Yeah.
Hey, let's you should come to our club and we can paint you while naked, blah blah blah. We can
Yeah.
model. You could be a model. You could, definitely know what you're getting into beforehand. Have systems in place that are safety measures. Um, there's just a lot of bad out there in the world, and
Yeah.
it's definitely sad. It's cringy.
Yeah. So a lot of adult like superstars, like celebrity superstars right now are talking about how they stop their kids from being part of the Hollywood scene. These are actual
Yeah.
celebrities, right?
Well,
Howard, as I mentioned
the-
before, like Bryce Howard, like that one from Annihilation, the actress from that, redhead, and so she was saying how her dad basically said, "You are not mixing with them. We're going to go live in the country," right?
yeah, yep. Get right
And
out of it. Yeah.
yeah, we're not going there. And you look at all the other stuff, Mark Wahlberg, right? One of the biggest names, Transformers and all that. Marky Mark, he's out there. He's took his kids away, took himself away out of there. And it's all coming out now, right? I think COVID really exposed celebrities for who they are, right?
Well, I don't even know if it's COVID. It's just the fact that the information is so much easier to share and obtain in all aspects. So, knowledge is power just as much as, the lack of it. So,
Well,
and that's a good thing about the internet, right? That's,
that's the best thing about the internet is that you're able to see these people for who they are, the monsters they are, right?
mm-hmm.
One of the things that like really, what I meant by COVID was that we realized that these people live one way and say, pretend to be something else. It's like that whole thing about like defund the police while they're sitting in their caged, closed off environment, away from all the other poor people who live in like, suburbs, out in the WAPs, right? And away from like the big cities. Yet they live in their like their caged off environments or gated communities. That's the word. Multi-million-dollar homes, private security, and they're the ones who are saying that you don't need police, right? Even though they have their private guards, that you have to get past the guard.
There's people on all,
and
that's where it gets to be crazy because there's people on all sides, all forms of life that are saying defund or because there's also the poor people that are getting beat up and there's so it's when you get a cause of any type, you'll have people from all sides sometimes coming at it, and where you could say, yeah, Me Too is good, but then there's people that use it for the bad. I've never found a group, one way or another, that everybody is good and everybody is bad. I've never found a group that I mean, other than maybe Nazis, I wouldn't say that there's very many good Nazis out there, but that I'm sure there was somewhere. I'm sure there was a Nazi in it that was like wearing the Nazi uniform that was in it because he was just trying to survive. So that's where that's where
you get that as well, right? Like you're just there because. But like, I mean, who was that guy, Schindler, right? Schindler's List, who basically bought all those people, like saved them all. And then he's not the only one, and like there's so many people. There was recently I played on them on our like a Monday night show, right? Like which is basically on here, like I don't know what time it is now, but usually on a Monday afternoon I do like a show called Don't Hate Mondays. Yeah. Which is basically a trailer and movie show, right? We have like half an hour or so talking about the latest movies out. Some I try to get to watch and I do a little review. But like everybody is trying to survive in this world, you know, and do their thing, get on with their life. And, you know, like I was saying about the parents, right? They're not all trying to like see them as cows, their kids, but they also want to see their kids succeed as well, you know, and they want to like be out here helping their kids get a step up. Like, oh, shit, you know, we're out in the country, but you know, if you try out for this, you know, you look at, was it Emma Stone or who's on like, you know, those guys that, you know, they would never be able to have the amount of money and lifestyle that they have now because of J.K. Rowling, that amazing woman who wrote a book for her son, right, her child, and now is a billionaire. And those people got to act in them as children, you know, and got to actually have a career forever out of it and live off the convention payments just by people going to see them at events. And I think, you know, that's, you know, so there are people parents who are like, you know, out there who just want to see their kids succeed in life. And I adore that. And and I'm for that. But also when you hear stories like from, you know, Nick, that, you know, Quiet on the Set documentary, and hearing parents who just didn't care. Right?
Well, some of them didn't. Some of them didn't know. Some of them tried to keep their kids out of it, and they tried to keep in a rein on it, but their children were persuaded to take them off of management. You know, and then the other parent wasn't able to do their duties right, so the child got manipulated. You know, it's there's all sorts of in-betweens that happened and can happen. You know, like I said, I as a brand would tell people I would not put anyone in that position that I knew of. I would tell them to stay out and be wary.
Yeah. And that's,
and just like with any situation, I'd say, especially when it's your children, like guard them with every inch of your life.
But that's what we're supposed to be there for, right? As guardians and as parents, as I am as an uncle, right? My whole thing is make sure that my niece and nephews can run to me, but first to their parents, right? If anything goes wrong, right? They're like, I remember like taking one of my nephews for a walk, and I said, listen, if anybody ever says or touches you in a weird way, you run mom and dad, and you tell them exactly what happened. Right? Don't let anybody
you know. And I remember my mom. I mean, back in the day, we had Adam. I don't know if you remember the Adam story. Adam was one of the kids that was stolen back during the early 80s. He was stolen out of a Kmart, and he's the son of the guy that did Unsolved Mysteries. So if you look up Unsolved Mysteries,
is that when he went after, like, did the whole like children's thing after that, like looking for children?
Adam Walsh, I think his name was. I think.
Is he the one now that does that whole like where they try to go after predators?
Yeah. So well, he probably is one of the very first ones that started that. So the Adam Walsh murder was in Florida, I think, 40 years ago. And as a 6-year-old, was abducted, and then they found him killed. And it sparked his dad into making Unsolved Mysteries and things like that. Well, that thing happened back when I was a child, and I remember my mom just being torn up about it, of course, because she had me and my sis. So then I remember. I mean, he was born a year before me, even. I'm just now re-looking it up, but I remember her telling, you know, taking me into the backyard and teaching me how to scream, you know, teaching me how to yell, teaching me how to fight back and stuff like that, and you know, giving me the talk. I don't know if some parents are as proactive as she was, but they definitely need to be, you know.
Yeah, I think that whole time there in the 80s, you know, got parents. I think that would have been what got parents really scared about this sort of stuff, you know, and looking after their kids. But because, you know, you kind of came out of like the 70s thinking that, or coming to early 80s, that nobody would harm children, and here we are, fucking, you know, a couple decades, 40 years later, and we're still harming children. And the reason I want to mention that is this thing here happened in New Zealand 5 months ago. Let me just bring it up. Hold on, gotta wipe off my mouse pad down of all the, you know, dry clay dust, I should say. So we'll come back to All Quiet on the Set in a minute, but since we're talking about children, let me just bring this one up. Where are you, Baby Roo? Here we go. So this came across my Facebook yesterday, and we've had, like, you know, in New Zealand, here's the link for that. You guys can read the rest of it later. And Shifter just put up this thing when we're talking about, like, the, you know, Nazis there. He said that this one came up first, so I've already shown this. Oh, where are we there? Right, it's talking about, I worked with a Nazi and a commie in a heavy oil plant. Man, it was fun when we all got drunk and talked politics. And then you got, like, they were both World War II vets. Right, so this one here, let me see if I can find a video for this, right? Because I'm sure there's one, because there. And so 4 months ago, here we go. Hey, stop. So we get a news item from 4 months ago. And this is something that I find is very unique to a certain ethnic group in our community, and it happens a lot, sadly. Not a lot, but enough to make, you know.
It's been many days since toddler ruthless Empire Ahipeni Wall was killed in Lower Hutt, and police are yet to make any arrests.
Instead, they're appealing for information about a car used to take Baby Roo to hospital, saying items of interest in it were deliberately removed and disposed of. Nathan Hakel reports.
A bubbly little boy brutally killed, and almost 3 weeks on, still no answers as to who's responsible.
This poor child suffered a violent death.
Ruthless Empire, affectionately known as Baby Roo, died from blunt force trauma, and today police revealed further grim details.
All injuries were to his head. They were severe and they caused his death. It could have been by a weapon, or it could have been through a physical force, such as slamming a head on a hard floor or a table.
These are the 3 people of interest: Dylan Ross, his partner Rosie Murunga, and Roo's mother, Storm Angel Wall. Murunga appeared in court this week on charges unrelated to this case.
Have some f***ing respect, bro.
All 3 were living at the Taita home when Roo was fatally injured, and police are speaking with them with varying degrees of cooperation.
I can't say as to why or what their motives are for not giving us the full story or the complete truth, but we know they have that information, and I urge them to come forward and talk to us.
They're also appealing for information about the movements of this Nissan Sentra. On the morning of October 22nd, it was driven from the Taita house to Hutt Hospital with Baby Roo and the 3 people of interest.
This vehicle has returned to the address, and a person or persons has removed property directly relevant to the homicide investigation.
We just, at this time, want the people, the 3 people that were in the whare, to tell the truth and be honest.
Ruse whānau telling Whakata Māori they had previously emailed Oranga Tamariki requesting he be uplifted, an organisation recently reviewed by former Police Commissioner Mike Bush.
Are you comfortable with the way that that organisation has handled the Baby Roo case?
That's a question you should put to the Chief Executive.
So we asked for an interview with CEO Chapi Tikani. A spokesperson declined, saying in a statement that Oranga Tamariki is continuing to support police with their investigation.
Once we get an arrest, I think we'll still continue to have those thousands of tears flowing.
Thousands of tears for their baby Roo, who was killed just days before he turned 2. Leighton Hakel, New Sub.
Oops. So
it's been 20.
So now let's pop back. This, like I said, this came up yesterday on my Facebook. Right. 5 months later, nothing. The 3 people, right, basically won't say anything. So what, there's a Facebook group, which is like, you know, of local New Zealanders. And everybody's just saying, put them all 3 in jail. And I say, so, yeah. So, you know, you saw the news item there for this cute little baby, and there's something very gross about a society when innocent children are being hurt and murdered, and violently in this case, right? And like it happens every couple of years in New Zealand. And you can make all the excuses about, oh, it's because of this, it's because of this. No, you're just a fucking asshole who took a child's life, and you deserve prison or hanging, as far as I'm concerned. And I reckon all 3 of them should be jailed, because once you're left there, you know, once, yeah, exactly, nothing, you know, nothing the cops can do, or if no one talks. But that's why I say, put them all in jail under manslaughter charges, right? Don't need evidence for that. Leave them in there for about 5 years, and somebody will open their mouth, because not everybody's going to have, you know, the willpower to stand what will happen to them in jail. Because there's one thing you got to understand: it doesn't matter how immoral a person is in the, you know, who's gone to the prison. One thing they really hate are child killers and child abusers in prison. And the word will come down the line from whoever's in control, right? And say, oh, we need answers, bro. Can you find answers for us on who was doing what? And sooner or later, that person's head will be on the block, and they'll get the talking to. And because that's prison justice. It's very, very straight up. And somebody will talk. And I think prison justice sometimes is very necessary in situations like this when nobody wants to talk. And sometimes also vigilante justice, right, has made things happen that, you know, truth come out, because people will use law, right? Law, the legal system, to protect themselves from prison time, from owning up to what they, you know, owning up to things that they should be owning up to when they're found out. So yeah, I'm all for vigilante justice and prison justice when it comes to shit like this, especially with children. That's one thing I just don't have any excuses for anyone's. Well, I won't take any excuses for when it comes to children and babies, minors. And I think seeing that yesterday was really sad, because we see this every couple of years in New Zealand, right? The other thing that happened was yesterday in the weekend, there was a murder of 2 young ones. Like there was a 20-year-old and a 30-year-old at a party, a private function that 2 people who came to, they weren't invited, started knifing people. 3 were injured, and thankfully they survived, but 2 young ones died. So a 20-year-old and a 13-year-old, 1-3, right? And so I think, when you see this sort of thing, all I can put it down to is like solo parenting. And then also not only that, but also solo moms not having the know-with-all to handle boys or girls, handle their children, because you just don't have the resources or the community around you to help you. Because like they say, a village raises children, right? It's not just a solo job. So if your village is weak, and if your village is kept out of helping you and stuff, because if I was thinking about Fiji, like fucking where I'm from, right? Until a person's married, and even after it, a male, right, especially a male, they still stay in the family compound, in the home. It's only in modern society where, like the cities and all that, where now they go to work somewhere else, now they live in an apartment with their wife and partner, whatever. Whereas before, in Fiji, you basically, there's a compound, we're going to build your house there, right? You're going to get married, your wife is going to come back here, or your children will be our grandchildren, and therefore we look after them. Grandma's going to be around feeding and making sure if you got to go to work, both of you got to go to work, or one of you got to go to work, somebody's there to look after. Auntie's there. That's how I was raised, right? I was like left with my grandparents when my mom went and worked in the city or in the town. And so I was raised by my aunt, my granddad, my uncles, and so I knew what was expected of me, right? When I did something bad, I got a hiding, right? I got a smack, whatever. But also I was spoiled as well, because I had so many people who loved me and looked after me when mom was working. And so, however, now we think like it's hands off, my children, and then you surround yourself with like bogans and a-holes, and bogans is, separate name for like, here, I don't even mean bogans and that by saying that, I just mean everybody like that, right? It doesn't matter what race. And I think it's just quite sad to a state where the village isn't there to take care of the family. We call about whānau in New Zealand, but I think that's weak now. There is nothing. It's got into a word that's been diluted over usage, right? Because whānau means something important. It's like your wider family, not just your immediate. It means people around you, your aunties and uncles, so that if you don't have a dad, your uncle can be that mentor and give you a little whack on the head if you're stepping out of line, or if you're talking back to your mom or dad, like your mom or your sisters or something, you're not treating them well, right? You're not behaving like a man. And so you have a lot of toxic people, young and older, both males and females, who are being raised in the society that we live in now, creating where they can go and knife some kids, right? Some young people at a party where they're celebrating a 21st, or they can bash a child's head onto a hard surface and not talk about who did it, because now you're protecting your whānau, right? And I think it's kind of sad for the state, for us as Kiwis to be in, and I think it happens worldwide, but I think for especially, because we're quite a small community, right? When you can look at like, places that are like 100 million people in it, 30, 40 million people in a city, right? Or something like that, or 8 million, I should say 3 million people just in one city, whereas like 5 million of us in entire New Zealand. So it's, I think it's, like child deaths should make us all scream and yell, right? And like they, like in, they said render and pull your hair out, tear your clothes, because that's how we should behave at these things, because they're not, it's the evilest thing you can think of is child abuse and child murder. And that's why like you get, prison justice. Let's go back to this one. We'll just watch this through. And we're about Actually, no, I don't think I want to talk about this anymore.